You see, the Buddha, in the organization of his monastic order, applied what he called the 7 principles of non-decline. What do you as an organization, as a society, have to do? What rules do you have to observe if you don't want to decline? If you want to keep up your life as a society, as an organization? Now he gives 7 rules, and the first one, the most important one, organizationally speaking, is you have to have collective consultations that are attended by everyone, even by those who don't speak, who don't have any policy proposals, but nevertheless they have to be in this process, this decision-making process. And these consultations should be by consensus. It's not a majority that trumps the minority, that humiliates the minority. You know, we are going to do our way and you have to suffer it. You have to, you know, somehow make peace with it because we are going to, as a majority. No, you know, you have to consult until everybody is in agreement. And then there are some other principles, like, for example, a society will not decline if women of good family are respected, are not abducted, are not molested. Now, this is an interesting detail that he says women of good family. You know, if the maid servants already have to be respected, maybe that's a bit much to ask from the Buddha. But at least the Arya women, you see, they should be respected. Then you see the holy men, the monks, they have to be respected, and all the religious customs. The pilgrimages have to be observed, the religious festivals have to be observed, and so on. This is a very important insight. It's the same that you find in Confucius, in China. You know, the notion that collective rituals, you know, music and so on, collective culture is very important in keeping a society together. You know, it's like what they say nowadays. Instead of more blue on the streets, instead of having more policemen, you should have more culture, more education. You know? So if people, you know, share in a common tradition, a common project and so on, they will commit far less crime against one another. You know, there will be more solidarity, the society will be better preserved. That's what the Buddha says. It's a very conservative view. It's a very correct view in my opinion, but that's not so important. But it's a very conservative view. It's not a revolutionary view at all. Here again we see the Buddha as a conservative, not as a revolutionary. And detail what religious customs are to be observed. Well, around him are the Vedic, the Hindu, you know, the word Hindu didn't exist yet, but you know, the reality of Hindu customs, they were there. Hindu pilgrimages to Mount Kailash or to the Saraswati River or whatever, you know, they existed, and according to the Buddha, they should be observed. He does not say, but those and those and those customs, they are Hindu, stop them. You know, I'm going to install new customs. He doesn't say that at all. He says, these customs that are by definition non-Buddhist, and that are Vedic, they have to be observed. Anyway, so the first rule is collective consultation. Now, at some point, the Wargi Republic, they ask him, you see, how should we organize our society? And he says, well, you know, an adapted version of the same 7 rules. And so that's what they do. Now, their neighbor is the Magadha kingdom. The Magadha kingdom is situated in southern Bihar, an area which till today has iron mines. Now, iron was the big new thing at the time, and so a state that possessed iron mines was bound to be powerful and become ever more powerful. And so the Magadha kingdom was expanding and expanding. And it had designs on the neighboring states, you know, let's annex them, let's conquer them. But somehow it was found that the Wargi Republic was unconquerable. And so the prime minister of Magadha, Vrshakara, he goes to see the Buddha. Because again, you see, the Buddha is consulted on political matters. And he says, well, he's very open about his designs. He says, we want to conquer the Virgin Republic. But, what is this hurdle? What makes them so strong? And the Buddha, very truthfully, unsuspectingly, says, well, it's these 7 rules of non-decline. And the first one is collective consultation, attendance in the assembly. Says Vrshakara, that is interesting to know. Okay, that's exactly what I needed to know. Thank you. And so he goes home and he devises a plan to do something about the practice of those 7 rules by the Virgin Republic. You see, in the ministerial council, he takes a very pro-Virgi position. The other ministers say, let's conquer Virgi, and he defends the Virgin Republic. And he makes sure that the news of his stance is very, it's propagated, and that everybody hears about it. And at the end, you see, the king says, well, you are so going contrary to the policy we plan that you can no longer be the prime minister. And he gets fired. And in the Virgin Republic, they hear about this. They say he's so pro-Virgi that he even gives up his own prime ministership. Let's employ him. And so they employ him as a minister of education. But of course, Vrshakara is still loyal to Magadha, and now he is going to carry out his plan. I have no information about what exactly he tells the students, but somehow he achieves the end that their parents stop attending the assembly. So after a few years, the assembly is very poorly attended. And this is where Vrshakara wanted to get. So he says, now you see, the first principle of non-decline has been violated. Now we are ready to strike. By that time, the Buddha has already died. And so they invade the Virgin Republic and annex it to the Magadha kingdom. Now, of course, you may argue, but this is not historical. This was invented by later scribes and so on. We don't know any of that. It's possible. It's also possible that it was very historical. But at any rate, that's what Buddhists believe. That is why there is a Buddhist literature nowadays defending the Buddha's stance, or at any rate trying to make sense of it. You see, they notice, well, the Buddha played a certain role in the fall of the Virgin Republic. And it is not because he was against the Republican form of state. He himself had grown up in a republic. He organized his own monastic order the same way. He advised the Virgin Republic. So there is no sign at all that he wanted the end of the Republican form of government. And yet, he played a role in the plan of the Magadha kingdom to make an end to the Virgin Republic. Now you can say, well, what else could the Buddha have done? Yeah, maybe he could not have done anything. And maybe it was his philosophy, well, let the world be the world. If they have designs on each other, if they commit aggression and so on, there's nothing I can do about it, except teach meditation. That is possible. Still, it is a bit of a weak stance. Nothing in the story says, for example, that he warned the Virgin Republic. That he said, watch out, Magadha kingdom is going to plan something to make you become disloyal to the 7 rules of non-decline. So again, we see the Buddha in a very human role. He achieves something that he hadn't planned.